Good evening, welcome.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Hassett. I'm a civil engineer with Morse Engineering, and I'm here this evening for a notice of intent filing. I'm here on behalf of the owners of 50 Wendell Park. 50 Wendell Park is a lot. It's about 10,000 square feet in size. It's developed with a single-family home, and Wendell Park itself is a boulevard-style road, as I'm sure you're aware. There are two one-way lanes with a wooded area with a drainage ditch in between the two lanes. The reason we're here is the homeowners have had an ongoing problem with drainage. They have a sump pump that I've been told runs continuously during the wet times of the year and runs quite a bit even in the dry time of year. So they're getting water in the basement. So they had a contractor look at it, and it looks like, and we also went out, surveyed the property. We shot the elevation of the basement, and it looks like we can run a pipe by gravity to the ditch within the center of Wendell Park, and that would alleviate the problem of the sump pump running all the time. It would tie right into a foundation drain. We would also connect the roof downspouts into that as well. And so right now in the existing conditions, they have a sump pump which discharges into the front yard, and it has done so historically. The problem is they get a puddle in their front yard, which is a nuisance. That puddle overtops, crosses the sidewalk, the roadway, and then eventually into the wetland. So the water is going to continue to go where it goes now. We're maintaining the same drainage patterns, just a different route that it'll take to get there. Obviously, the sump pump water going across the sidewalk and the runway could also create a safety hazard with icing. And the homeowners are concerned with power outages with the sump pump. So this solution would alleviate those issues. We're proposing to locate the drain pipe in an area where there's an existing saw cut in the pavement. It's about 1.5 feet wide. So we'd reopen up that saw cut. There are notes on the plans that the contractor will be responsible for getting a street opening permit from the DPW and complying with all their regulations. They do have very thorough regulations for what to do when you cut a roadway open, how to patch it, how to compact the material below it. I see this being really a minimal disturbance on the wetlands because it's just one trench for a pipe. We are providing an erosion control barrier at the down gradient limit of work. We're providing some stone at the outlet to prevent erosion after construction. And the stormwater that will be discharging here is considered to be clean. It's free of suspended solids, nitrogens, metals, and that's because it's roof runoff and foundation water. So I think it's a good project. It's good for this property and the abutting properties. Thank you.
I actually am very sympathetic because as I look at the site, I used to live on Elm Street, and somewhere there's an underground stream that used to go through my basement.
Wow.
And it was heading in your direction.
It could be the same one.
Same one. So I think it's probably a good idea, but I'm a little concerned about the roof runoff. I know is clean, it's deemed to be clean, and if you put that into the pipe and put it into the stream, I think that's fine. But if they're getting as much water in the basement as I got, and I had all kinds of stuff in my basement. It was a very old home, so I had all kinds of stuff that I couldn't identify. And I'm talking about a couple of feet of water in the basement. And is there any way to make sure that that's clean? I don't know what the heating system is down in the basement. I assume it's in the basement. I don't know that. But do we have any assurance that the water being transported out of the basement? I guess the idea is to make it not go into the basement.
Exactly.
But do you have like a French drain going around the foundation to tie into this pipe, or are you continuing the use of the sump pump and putting it into the pipe?
Yeah, it's a good question. The sump pump will remain for emergency situations, but as you said, the idea is to capture that water before it gets into the basement.
And
Clean water
how do
that's
you
already
do that?
filtered through the through the sand or whatever material it is. They'll do that with a foundation drain. And
A new or an existing foundation?
a new foundation drain. And also the water is going to be captured from below the slab elevation. So there's already some sort of foundation drain that goes, but it just goes to a sump pump in the corner. It's the stone and piping that's below the slab. This pipe will tie directly into that at a lower elevation than the basement elevation, and then there'll also be perforated pipe going around the exterior of the foundation. And the real goal is to keep the water out of the basement, not to get it out of
Right.
the basement, but to keep it out to begin with.
So you mentioned that there was an existing foundation drainage system, and you're basically putting a second footing drainage system in that's perforated pipe.
Yeah, the water's getting to this corner. If the sump pump is running, then the water's not coming into the house typically.
Sure.
So we're confident that there's stone below this slab, maybe even perforated piping that's getting the water to that point. In addition to that, yeah, we're going to add a foundation drain around it, around the house.
Okay, so it's a sub-slab drainage system now, and you're adding a perforated perimeter.
Yeah, which will also be sub-slab elevation.
That makes sense?
It does, yeah. My concern is, the 25 feet, crossing a road and going through public lands to plant the drainage pipe. That, to me, that just feels wrong. And then also coming within 20, we have a non-disturbance of 25 feet from the wetland edge, so you're not, I don't know how that plays out. I mean, I understand the condition and the plight that they're in, but I'm not sure how you get from where they are to where they want to be.
So the way, this is really, it's more of a ditch. It's not a pristine wetland habitat.
Sure.
It was delineated by a professional wetland scientist, and we're calling it a wetland on this plan. He did send me in an email saying it's kind of a borderline wetland, but nonetheless, we're calling it a wetland here.
Sure.
I don't think this limited work here will have any adverse impact on the wetland itself, the habitat area. So I guess we're requesting a waiver to allow work within that 25-foot buffer. I think the woods really aren't very dense here. You can see the tree line, so it's grass up to the tree line, and then a short section of woods. We can't pull that back outside of the 25-foot buffer just because of the way that ditch is made. It's really it's very steep right up to a plateau. And as far as your other question, conservation, a wetlands permit is one of the permits they need.
Sure.
They also need the street opening permit that I mentioned.
Yep.
So that will be addressed with the
And that
DPW.
covers them crossing public land as well?
It would, yes.
It would. One of my concerns beyond that is the idea that part of what we deal with is controlling runoff. That's what detention is all about with new developments and all of this, is controlling runoff so that we're not surcharging the existing drainage system. So if I'm understanding that this is one condition and they have a significant amount of water that's flowing through their basement or on their property, if we were to say that everyone else on the street had the same situation and everyone else on the street drained their basements in the same way to the drainage ditch, that has a significant potential impact to anyone that's downstream from them. And have you run any calculations in terms of evaluating the drainage ditch and the amount of water that we're talking about providing to the drainage ditch? Just so that we know that we're not flooding the guy at the end of the line. And understanding we're only talking about one, but if we've approved it for one, then we've set a precedence.
Right, right.
And I understand their plight, but we just need to look at all the angles to make sure we're not causing ourselves a potential, that we're not going to flood the guy at the end of the line.
Right. It is a very large drainage watershed that's going to this ditch, and we are maintaining the existing drainage patterns. The water is making it to that ditch in one way or the other. So I wouldn't say there's added runoff going to that ditch. It's the same amount of flow, just getting there a different way. And I think even if there was an underground stream running this way, it's going to be intercepted by that ditch. That's where the runoff is going.
But the concentrated flow basically surcharges it over a shorter period of time. So anything that's going through the ground has call it a delay. So you basically, a storm event happens and then the ground absorbs most of that water and then releases it to the drainage ditch over an extended period of time, which might be a day or two, which means that the level in the drainage ditch never really increases significantly. But if all of a sudden we provide pipe feed to the drainage ditch, there's no delay, and all the water that landed on the roof or around the property is now basically force-fed into the drainage ditch, potentially surcharging the drainage ditch. It should, I'm sorry, stream. Sorry, yes, stream. I'm referring to it as drainage ditch. So have you looked at what's the outflow, what's the ultimate outflow of that stream?
Pine Tree Brook.
Oh, that is Pine Tree Brook.
It is.
Well, it dumps
Flows
into Pine Tree
into.
Brook.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I just have concerns about the whole, have you done calculations to evaluate the volume of water you're adding to it in terms of the volume that's currently there? And
It's a very easy calculation to calculate how much runoff is coming off of the roof for various storms.
Sure.
But to calculate that surface water running below the ground elevation, there's really no calculation or program to do that I'm aware of.
do you know how often the pump currently, as long as the pump is running, they have no water in the basement?
That's what I understand, yes.
Okay, so is there a way to evaluate the capacity of the pump to understand the quantity of water that we're talking about?
Yeah, I suppose.
I mean, I'm just throwing out ideas. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not a civil engineer. I don't.
I suppose you could. I do think I don't think there's an increase in runoff to the stream, because I think the water's getting there one way or the other to begin
Sure.
with.
Yep.
And I mean, even if there were, I do think it's negligible with the, even if you had a few properties tying in,
Yeah.
with the vast area that's draining into this ditch.
Okay. The last comment I have is, you shouldn't tie, if you're going to catch the rain leaders from the roof, do not tie them into the same drainage system as the foundation drain. If you have a problem in that drain line, you've just surcharged your entire foundation. So run a separate line. Any lines that you're going to catch off the roof, run that independently, the full length, and dump it out. That way, there's no chance of a clog surcharging your foundation, because you'll never, that'll be a flood right there.
That's a very good point,
Yeah.
yes. So we'd be glad to run two 4-inch pipes parallel to each other.
I agree with your concerns, Michael, exactly. I don't think we've ever approved anything like this in my memory, and the precedent involved. And the idea of, we're always trying to do the opposite, or, not into someone's basement, no, but instead of having water go directly into a stream, which could cause a flood if there's too much, to put it into the ground, let the ground absorb it gradually. So this is sort of going in the opposite direction. And just like Michael is saying, if everyone on the street did it, we'd be in a really bad situation downstream. So I have concerns about it as a concept.
Can you get us some calculations?
Okay.
And then, I don't think there'll be a rush to do it, but I appreciate very much the precedent component of it. I think it's
Yeah.
a very valid point. But if we can look at it, and if it's only, a few gallons, and even if you multiply it by everybody on the street. But of course, it's not just Wendell Park, because once we
We've
set
done
that
it, we've done it.
precedent, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because we had Hendry's, and that those drainage pipes went right into the Neponset.
That's right.
What a shock.
We didn't like that.
Yeah, it is a unique project. I've never had one like this either.
Yeah.
In talking to you, I think, yeah, the 2 pipes are a good idea. I just, thinking out loud, I originally didn't do a dry well system. I was thinking the runoff would go to a dry well and then overtop and then go to the wetland. That's not really feasible because it's in the groundwater table to begin with. But if we put the roof runoff to our dry well and then that had an overtop, then that would be a way to promote groundwater recharge, where on a site that right now doesn't have any recharge.
If you're going to dig a trench around the perimeter of the house anyways, did you think of just waterproofing? I mean, you're not going to do under the slab, but you can epoxy inject the perimeter of the slab and cracks and stuff like that, and do a positive side waterproofing.
Yeah.
And that can be very effective.
I've had mixed results with it,
Yeah.
whether it works or not. It definitely helps, but it's not 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think, what would you like to see, the calculations for the roof
I want to know
runoff?
how much we're getting from the system. How much is the pump kick? If the pump is effective right now and it's holding everything, so if we assume that the pump is running at full tilt, how much water are we getting from that? And then we can look at that on a daily basis and look and talk about how much water is actually in the stream. I mean, are we
Right.
talking,
But I think when you began, you said it runs all the time. I assume you don't mean 24 hours.
No,
But
and
it
and that's
runs a
also
lot.
in the wet time of year also.
right.
Yeah, so is there any way to calculate that? I mean, to get from the homeowner, how many hours a day is it actually running? It may seem like 24 hours, but it may not be. I
Right.
don't know.
I don't know.
The other thing because I don't know the property, is there any way to direct the water into the backyard instead and let it get absorbed into some area? Have a retention area in the backyard that would then be a longer flow?
The problem is
Gradual.
it slopes forward. So wherever, if you discharge it in the rear yard, it'll flow towards the house where it goes now.
I used to have a couple of feet of water in my house.
Wow.
My first indoor swimming pool.
Whoa.
Can we do a site walk?
Yeah.
Can we?
Yeah, let's
I'd
do
like
that.
that,
Let's
too.
look at
Yeah.
it. Maybe we can
Okay.
come up with an idea.
If we could do that on the 31st, do you think you could have some calculations for us by that time?
Yeah, I think I can.
That would be very helpful. So we'll put this on. Actually, are there any abutters, members of the public that have a question or a comment about this? I see none, so why don't we plan to see you Saturday morning on the 31st? And if you could get those calculations to Kathy Bowen before then, by a few days, it would be very helpful, because we'll have them in hand by the time we get there.
Okay.
All right?
And we're continuing the meeting to what date?
The 31st?
Halloween.
Halloween, 31st of October.
We're doing
That's Saturday. Now, we start at 8 a.m., but I don't know the schedule yet.
And that's an actual public hearing?
It
Yes,
is.
yes.
Great. Okay.
Right, so we can vote, we can, regular meeting,
Oh, wonderful.
right? But if you stay in touch with Kathy, or look on the website, because, on the town, miltontown.org, you can actually pick it up.
Okay. All right, thank you for your time.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is 106 Hillside Street. This is notice of intent. Good evening. Go ahead. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Darren Grady. I'm from Grady Consulting. I'm here with Christoph Van Riet and also Christine Uhlman of Aquanaut Pools. Our project is a proposed pool at 106 Hillside Street. There's an existing wetland, Series A to the north of the property and a Series B to the front of the property. Hillside Street is on the left of the plan. The proposed pool is being proposed in the backyard. We're proposing a fence, chain link fence or a stockade fence, 32.8 feet from the wetlands, specifically wetland A4. The proposed pool is the smaller rectangle. Inside the larger rectangle represents the pool deck. We're also proposing a future pool house. The wetlands were delineated by John Zimmer, a professional wetland scientist. And we're proposing to remove 2 trees shown in red here. One of the trees has already fallen on the ground. It still has a little bit of growth on it. We decided to show it on the plan as being removed. We're proposing 2 white birch trees, shown here in black, to replace the 2 trees that we're proposing on taking. The pool equipment is proposed behind this existing shed here. The existing septic system for the existing house is located in the front, as far away from the pool as possible. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
What about the proposed pool equipment? What does that consist of?
That would be your pump. That would circulate the water in the pool.
And discharge? Backwash?
It's a non-backwash system, it's a cartridge filter.
Okay. That's pretty important to us.
Very important.
Because people like to discharge, chlorine and whatnot into wetlands, which is usually not a good idea. What about noise? We just did a house where that became, it was resolved quite easily, but there was a noise factor, and I don't know where the other houses are. Is there any kind of, in terms of any pumps that are being utilized?
I use a Whisper Flow pump. It's the quietest pump on the market, so it's really nice. But I also typically use a rubber matting underneath it to absorb a lot of the sound, so.
All right. We had actually just done a notice of intent where we had like a 3-side block. They put the block on the wrong side. Remember they put a door in it? But it was just,
I think
just to protect the
I
neighbors.
think you guys had talked about maybe putting a fencing around it, some
We
sort
want it to
of
be as quiet as possible, for
screening
sure.
around it, yes.
Definitely.
Do you have neighbors on this end that are
There are some neighbors on the other side of the driveway, if you see.
to the south, to the bottom?
Right over here is, yeah. Doing a hillside, we have a neighbor who lives on the other side of the wetlands.
Yep.
Lawson, John Lawson, and then we have Warren Kelly in a house over here. So there used to be 4 properties in that side, but they're actually not abutting, really.
Right. So the Kellys would be the closest thing
Right,
to
correct.
the pump.
That's correct.
And you're not opposed to the idea of putting up some kind of a fence or screening if acoustics?
Absolutely. I think we want to do everything we can to keep it quiet. We want it to be quiet, right,
We want it to
Christine?
be quiet
We've
as
talked
well.
about that.
We have a 3-to-1 ratio for replacement on trees. So for any tree that needs to come down, we're looking for 3 replacement trees. We're not looking for large caliper trees typically, but that's kind of where we are for consistency.
That's definitely where we want to go.
Okay.
But 2 was just one idea, but we want to make it all trees surrounded, pretty much.
We're going to count the one that's fallen already.
No, if it's dead, it's dead.
But when you say a white birch, you mean a paper birch, or there's a white European birch, but we want a native?
Right?
So
We
it would
want
be
a
either
native.
paper
There's-
or a river, either one, or a gray. They all look a little bit white.
Exactly.
But one of
There's
those
several
3.
birches on the property already, and
Okay.
they are native,
Yes,
fitting in with the
they're-
wetlands.
They're
So we
probably
want,
paper birches.
All right, any other questions? Members, abutters, members of the public? We typically want to go up and, look at where the wetlands are flagged, so it's going to be a busy Saturday.
It is.
But,
We'll be busy, yeah.
we'll be there.
So what, just another question. Yeah, trick or treat. In terms of the pool, what is the deck around the pool, and what are your plans for controlling runoff in terms of, what are you planning?
It's actually going to be a mixture of poured concrete and pavers. So we'll be using some deck drains, moving everything away from the wetlands.
Okay, but your
Yes.
goal is to catch it and put it into dry wells?
Absolutely,
Okay, and then
yes.
you heard the conversation we had earlier about confirming that the absorption of the would do it.
Yes.
We also had a pool house recently up on Brush Hill Road. When we did the site inspection, we found a toilet that we didn't expect.
Yeah, there's no plans for a toilet, it's more of a, and it's a possible future one, we just figured anything that should go on the plan, go on now.
Sure.
At this stage, it's most likely gonna be an open structure, like a pergola or something like that, with something growing over it. There's no intentions for a bathroom, though. No, not with the septic where it's located, there's no way to tie into that.
Do you have calculations on the on the water and the dry well, in terms of how big the
As far as runoff calculations?
in terms of we're talking about catching the water from the pool deck and how big the dry well is going to be, and we're going to have to verify that against the absorption.
We do not right now.
But if you could have that for the
Sure.
sidewalk, that would be great.
And the pool is 20 by 42?
Correct.
Do you have calculations on how much water that's going to displace? I mean, it's basically a bathtub sitting in the right near the wetlands. Is that going to have any effect on,
The pool is actually
I don't know
only
where the
3.5
next
to
house
6 feet, so that's probably about 15,000 gallons, if
I'm
that.
sorry, it's 3.5 to 6 feet?
Correct, it's considered a play pool, so it's shallow on each end and then goes down to 6.
All right, so
And
15,000 gallons.
we'll have about a foot of 3/4 inch crushed stone underneath the pool as well, so we're basically building you a big French drain under there.
Does it run off from the deck?
I'm sorry?
It will accommodate the runoff from the deck as well?
It probably would more than cover the runoff from the deck, to tell you the truth.
That's all right, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
that
no,
was
absolutely, yeah.
Covered openly. Is a river birch more water absorbent than the white birch?
They're about the same, I'd
Okay.
say, just about the same, yeah.
Thanks.
How close is the next house, looking at the, what are we,
It's down there. There's a house that he said was
right
here.
here, right here?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, because again, just experience-wise, we had somebody drop a pool in and the water kind of squished out. I know that's not a technical term, but, and ended up in somebody else's yard. That was over on Herrick Drive. So I just want to make sure there's enough space, and that's why, we need some calculations as to where the water's going to go. And,
It's more than 150 feet, the house. the
Oh,
other house.
without question.
all right. Saturday? Saturday morning? All right. But truly, either stay in touch with Kathy or look on the website, because you've heard tonight, we've got a lot of places to go. So we're going to be there from 8 to noon time, probably. So we don't know yet, but you can track it on the agenda.
Yeah.
All right?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll
Thank
see you
you.
on the 31st.
Thank you.
Just for the record, could you submit literature on the pool mechanical systems you're proposing to use? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just so that they're in the record and, yeah.
Sure,
Great,
no
thank you.
problem.
Good, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
That one was yours, right? Where is my agenda? Next on the agenda is number 8, is request for determination of applicability, 10 Pope Hill Road.
My name is Joel Marshall. I live there at 10 Pope Hill Road.
Oh, sorry, one second.
Robert Hannigan sent me a bunch of things to give to you. Would you like these here?
That'd be great, thanks.
Yeah.
Could you repeat your name again when you sit down? Just because I'm sure that, I think the tape stopped. Our high-tech recording device.
Yeah, thanks,
Oh, thank you.
thanks.
Yeah, he blew up that a little bit, so.
Thank you.
I don't have one of those big
No.
things to put up on the.
Oh, right. Oh, here, I've got another one.
Quarter. Big on that TV show.
Okay, so basically what we'd like to do is, we have kind of an L-shaped living space here for the living room and for the dining room. By the way, my name is Joel Marshall.
Thank you.
Okay. And because we're both musicians, we have a grand piano in there, and there's just not quite enough room for playing music in there. And also, when we have Thanksgiving dinners, we usually have a bunch of people, and there's just very little room there. So what we want to do is just fill in that little L. It's, what he said, he figured about 86 square feet. And also, we have a little screen porch, which is 5 feet wide. And we'd like to actually just bump that out a little bit. In this, you see a, that yellow, do you see that yellow thing? That is a concrete patio that's existing, okay? And then Robert has in the red what would be taken down, and he has in the blue what would be added.
Okay.
Okay? And,
Actually, not okay. I can't
So,
quite understand this
Can
at
I,
all.
oh,
can I ask you, just
Yeah.
ask you a question before you go? Just, so, are you removing the existing patio in the process of doing the work?
no, we're not.
Okay.
No.
So what they're proposing is, the yellow is an existing patio,
Okay.
and all of the work that they're proposing to do is within that existing patio.
Right.
And the red portion is an existing porch and staircase that they're going to remove and enlarge. So the blue area is all new construction, and none of it goes outside the footprint of the existing patio.
Where's the existing building, though, within the blue?
The red,
The red is the only existing.
yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you see that little porch there, that's 5 feet wide, and it's, enough to put a chair there and to look out, but we'd
But
like
where's
to...
the existing house? I see
Oh, the
a
house
porch and a...
is, this is everything, you see that hatch mark around the perimeter? That's
That's the house.
the footprint of the existing house.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Now it does.
Okay. Oh, here.
I was missing that completely.
If you pass that to-
Thank you. Yes.
Good.
Okay, so we had Goddard Consulting, this wetlands consulting company out in Northborough, I believe, come, and he's planted these blue flags in the
Sure.
back there. And then Robert Hannigan, the surveyor, went and he drew up this plan here with the distances. I think he in that thing he shows where the wetlands are and the 25-foot and the 100-foot thing. Well, as it turns out, most of our house is within the 100-foot line there.
Okay.
Anyway,
That's all right. Yep.
Where's the pond?
the pond.
Isn't Pope's? pond?
Yes. Pope's Pond is way over there.
As in that way?
Okay, it is, yeah, if you, if you just kind of look out, if you just follow that line straight out, you'd actually, that wetlands area, there is Lafayette Street, which is over, and then it would be to the right is Pope's Pond. So it's, it's a
Wait,
ways,
Didn't
a
we do a
ways.
house right on the
Mm-hmm.
corner?
A couple of years ago, yes, we did.
Yeah. When you come in Summit, then you take a right?
Right. Mm-hmm. And the pond was behind, yes.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were like old dikes that we walked, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pope Hill Road is actually, has like a dog leg in it,
Yep.
and, anyway.
All right, so we need to look at this line. And we don't always require a wetland scientist to be there. Sometimes we do. Is this obvious? I mean, sometimes there are very clear markings as to where the wetlands
Oh.
begin and where they end.
Well,
Other times it becomes somewhat controversial because it depends upon soil analysis.
I see. Well, I assumed that he did that when he came out. I was actually not there when he planted the flags, but I think there's like about 7 or 8 blue flags out there, and it actually it looks pretty much like what you've got in there.
Does that follow the edge of something, or is it just in the middle of your yard?
No, actually, there's this existing fence there, and then and that's indicated on this plan here. So when you walk there, you can see pretty clearly, sort of where it is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Looks like the fence goes right adjacent to the wetlands. I'm looking at flag 9.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's right. Actually, one little place looks like it crosses over a few inches.
Seems like a pretty minor addition.
I think it's very minor because it's over an existing patio.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Existing impervious area
Right.
to begin with.
I mean, it doesn't mean, so do you plan on adding a dry well?
Adding a dry well?
Yeah, to catch the runoff from the roof as an opportunity to improve?
I actually hadn't thought of it.
We can look at it when we're out there. And,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
There's Pope Hill
But right
Road,
now,
there's
the
pond.
patio just drains
Yeah.
to your backyard, right?
Yeah, it just,
Yeah.
yeah, it just goes to the backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Or was it
before.
down there?
I think it was more like around here, just off of Summer.
Right, okay. All right. So take a look at this Saturday?
And it's a request for determination of applicability.
Yes, I do.
We are,
All came in, finally.
um,
There you go.
I don't mean to complicate it, but I mean, it is in the jurisdiction. Why don't we take a look at it? It's pretty, it's pretty far, it's pretty far out, yeah.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah. Okay. If it were more complicated, I think a notice of intent would have been appropriate. But it's a small addition, and it seems to be at the extent of our jurisdiction. So if we were to meet you, it's probably going to be late morning now on
Okay.
Saturday, the 31st?
Saturday, the 31st, okay.
Perfect. All
Okay.
right. Any comments from abutters or questions from the public? Hearing none, we'll see you on Saturday, the 31st.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your patience. Oh, I stole that from
That's
you,
okay.
actually. Next on the agenda, number 9, is a request for minor amendment, Gun Hill Road, Lot 1, DEP number 0460441.
Good evening. Jim Burke with Selberg and Associates. I'm here tonight to ask for an amendment to, I wouldn't say recently approved, but for Lot 1, Gun Hill Street. We did it for Mr. Tom Cochran, who's in the audience tonight. And revisions include a changed footprint of the single-family house. It went from, the original one was 2,700 square feet and change. The proposed one's 2,400 square feet and change. We also moved it further away from the wetland. It's now 85 feet, and it was 80 feet before. Just, just the way it fit better on the lot. Roof drainage, we changed from the old concrete leach pits, and we changed them to the plastic Cultex like all the other lots that we've done previous. And we're adding a 24 by 18 patio right in this location.
Is it, where is it?
A 24 by 18 patio, dry mortar.
And how close is that to the blue line is what?
Level
The-
spreader.
Yeah, level spreader, right, and the 100-foot buffer is right here, and that is 76 feet to the wetland.
From the nearest corner of the patio.
Correct.
But where does that level spreader? Because that level spreader is on pretty steep, that's a pretty steep drop there. How close does the patio come to the drop?
It's to the level spreader.
Yeah.
It's a couple of feet.
So if you step off the deck, you're going to keep going.
No, because the levels, the deck itself, the patio is at 114, and then there's a wall that wraps around the patio to make the grades work. So, I mean, if you stepped off the wall, you're going to step down 4
A
feet.
wall as in a retaining wall?
Not,
Like bench height.
yeah, bench height.
Bench height. And how wide is the level spreader at that point? Looks like it's probably 5 or 6 feet.
I'd say a little bit wider. I'd say like more like 8.
So the level spreader is like 8 feet wide, and it wraps that whole edge. So you'd actually have to walk to the edge of that before it went off.
Walk to the edge of the...
Level spreader.
The wall, and then there's 8 feet, of level spreader, which
Right.
is a
Like a 6-inch,
Square.
yeah.
and then the far
Soil.
side of that.
And then it drops down 3 to 1.
And the whole slope on the back side of the level spreader is all new grading?
Yeah. I mean, this right here,
Yeah.
it's 3 to 1, and that hasn't changed.
That's what was there before?
Yes.
The 3-to-1 slope?
Yeah, we haven't changed the limit of work or the level spreader
Or that whole back slope?
or the back slope.
Okay. And what about, and I bring this up only because it's an issue that we've seen before, and I think I'm intent on keeping the slope intact,
Yes.
so I don't want, I wouldn't want to see clear cutting even if it's invasive species, because I think the slope's gonna, that's pretty steep there.
It's 3 to
And
1.
But I just want to bring it up because I know, Judith, it's near and dear to your heart.
You said 2 to 1?
3 to
You said 3 to 1.
3 to 1.
3 to
And
1,
and
it's a
all-
fill, it's a fill slope.
But it's
so-
all new.
Right.
It's
It's
all
a-
new grade, so
so
that
this
is
is-
clear cut.
So
Okay, all right.
that's, yeah.
It's
So
your-
that's all fill slope, and, you know, right now, we're just proposing loam and seed.
But wait a minute, when you keep going though, where does it go to the natural grade that's a big drop off? Because that, lot 1 is pretty close to Gun Hill Street, right? That's the closest lot?
Yes.
Isn't that pretty steep there?
Well, we're building on the slope, so the slope itself, you know, I'd say the erosion control area, which is 36, the closest it gets to the wetlands is 36 feet, and it's probably, you know, 3 feet from the property line. Along that slope, that same gradient, it probably goes past the property line another 6 feet, and then it flattens out to the bottom.
So the property line is how far from the stream?
From the stream,
Yeah.
probably 30 feet. From the BVW, I should say.
All right. Well, I was okay with the grading before.
Right.
So I'm not trying to renege on that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring it up so that Judith has a chance
Yeah,
to
no, we
address
had
how to hold that slope.
Yeah, the one issue, the slope itself is going to be a lot larger than it was on Lot 3. When on Lot 3, we had the breakout as when we went from the
Correct.
grass to the natural grade. That lawn's going to be a lot broader, and I think we'll have a lot more chance to kind of blend it into the slope.
I don't know if grass is enough to hold that slope, not at a 1 to 3. I think you're going to have to do some sort of ground cover that would have, you know, deeper roots and be able to absorb more of the water coming down. I think you're going to need to do some sort of plantings, you know, pack of sander or something in that area.
3 to 1 is considered the limit.
Standard, yeah. It's, if you were gonna use plantings to further stabilize the slope, you go into the 2 to 1s, and, you know, and then if you're going 1 to 1, then you're using a jute mesh and, you know, maybe even a more of a structural stone.
Why don't you put a row of plantings, so towards the bottom, just to be on the safe side? So if you think the grass seed,
For example,
any of the natives you could put in there, you could put in
Well, we used the
mountain laurel,
Yeah, we
yeah,
used the mountain
easy to
laurel.
find, it's a good area for it, sure.
where would you propose situating
Along-
those?
I'd put,
Bottom of the slope?
yeah, towards the bottom of the slope,
So right at the
and it
limit
can
of
take
work.
that shade, yeah, definitely.
So if we look at the, sorry, are you?
Who's not using what? Oh, Tom,
Oh,
you're
Tom.
supposed to,
This is the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
microphone, of course.
When we look at the contours, we're really not shifting them very much.
No.
Can you retain the existing contours? If you,
I
I mean,
you know,
I'm looking, like
theoretically,
most of it looks like you're just straightening it out across the slope. Really, the contour at the top, we're doing predominantly for the leading edge of the
existing
level spreader.
slope, the existing slope is greater than 3 to 1, and
Is it?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
otherwise I wouldn't be filling it
Yeah.
to. I mean, could we catch up to it quicker? Yeah, it'd be like what we had up on Lot 3. The thing is, the Lot 3 limit of work was real close to the top of slope, so you could really kind of feather it in faster. You met grade quicker.
So you
On
think
this
this is a
particular one-
better performing?
I'm at, let's see. You know, like I say, you look at 109's tying in, it's only back 3 feet.
Right, 109 is the odd one because it's actually the top of the level spreader. 108 is...
108 is tying, it's, again, it's just given, as water, the design is the way the water's supposed to spill over that berm
Yeah.
at a laminar fashion at the same
Right.
elevation.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
wondering if there was a way to not do all the grading on that, but actually it's probably full of invasives anyways, and ripping it apart isn't necessarily a bad thing.
I
right?
think what we can do is, if there's any sort of trees that we can salvage, I'm sure we could work on getting that done and just taking the invasives out.
The big point, yeah, is if the more root mass of
Right.
natives that we can retain, it's only going to help the slope.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I'm just
Yeah,
trying to...
I mean, so, but it's if there's grading in that whole area downhill of the level spreader,
Yep.
how would we preserve much vegetation if we were regrading?
Vegetation, the trees and the like, I think you'd tighten up the grade a little bit around it, so
Yeah,
you're not
this-
suffocating it, and then spread it out where you need to.
There
Yeah.
really isn't much of a change in the grade until you get up to 106. So the
Right.
bottom 3 or 4 feet is pretty much straightening out the contour. 106 through 108, you end up being a little steeper than what's existing, but not significantly.
Okay.
And if it waves a little bit, then,
Yeah.
if you actually give it a little bit of a wave, you can probably deal with it.
Right. Instead of
Okay.
being like kind of a uniform
Right.
landfill kind of
Or
thing.
being a straight edge. Or the front edge of the level spreader might tuck in a little bit if you had a tree you could say.
Okay, so you're just saying it
Yeah.
can be a little give or take on the
Yeah, just
where the
squeeze
edge
it,
is,
yeah.
depending on
Right,
what.
exactly.
Squeeze it into 2 to 1, and,
Yeah.
right. Working, saving some vegetation. And
Yeah.
I can work with that on you.
So the question is this a minor amendment? And, the reduction in square footage, moving further away from the wetland, notwithstanding the deck.
Patio.
What's that?
Patio.
Patio. How big is the patio? And does that-
24 by 18.
And does that change the runoff calculations?
It's, like I say, it's a dry mortar. No, I mean,
What does that mean, what do you mean by dry mortar?
you just to plant, you set
dust?
your base.
Stone dust.
It'll be in stone. It'll be in stone dust. It won't be in. It
Right.
won't be a poured
Yeah.
concrete.
Yeah. Just sand.
Sand and stone
in.
dust are not the same thing. Stone dust is impermeable.
Well, it's stone dust, it's not impermeable.
It is. It's effectively impermeable. When you compact stone dust to set it as a setting bed, it's impermeable.
Well, it's going to be a stone dust base, and you're going to lock it in with sand, the blocks themselves,
So the joints.
the joints. So, I mean, that's what I mean by dry mortar.
Okay. So the sand, it's like a polymeric,
Yeah, exactly.
so it's impermeable.
Well, we're not using polymeric. I think we're just using regular
Right.
sand.
Just
Oh, sorry.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, the polymeric is impermeable. That stuff blocks up tight.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as far as the drainage goes, I mean, right now, it's designed to drain to the north and then into the lawn in this direction, because this wall's going to prevent it from draining in this direction. So, in my opinion, there really isn't any significant stormwater to worry about on a 24 by 18 patio.
You're the water guy, you agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
The one, I see this as a minor amendment, but I do want to talk about the invasives on the property, and because we brought it up with one of the other sites. And the opportunity to clean up some of the stuff that's on the edge, along the
What are you talking
buffer.
about?
What do you mean, what am I talking about? You can't.
No, I'm
So
kidding.
I guess you know what we're trying to go. We're trying to, the argument is that when we open up the site, we remove the trees, we let in the rain, we let in the sun, the invasives explode, and they bloom, and they take over more aggressively than they normally do. And this is really the first time that we became really aware of it on the on the 1 and 2, and we'd like to talk about whether you can cut back the invasives and try to implement something to knock them back. And
In what areas are you?
we're just
speaking of?
talking, the only area that's remaining is the is the zone that's across the
On the
south
outs-
side of the property. Is that the south? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so that strip around, which is along the stream, along the stream.
Right.
And it's just an opportunity to cut it back, to try to give the native plants an opportunity to thrive.
To get somebody in there, Tom, who knows what they're doing, to just cut it back, keep the trees, and then do those additional plantings.
The additional plantings you would like on the upgrade side of
The
the,
upgrade,
of the,
yes.
of the,
of that area.
erosion control.
works out. Right.
Right.
So
Well,
then,
yeah.
so then you'd like it cleared, the invasives cleared to some extent on the downhill side of
Well,
the.
I think there's some kind of a balance here between destabilizing the slope and realizing how much of it's actually invasive. If 100% is invasive, then I don't think we can clear 100. You can't do that because then you're basically going to destroy the slope. I don't know where that line is. From what we look, when we see the site, as I look at it, I think the vast majority of it is invasive.
Would you use herbicide on the bullbriar or anything like that, or is that not something that you?
Well, you're right above the stream.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just
You
asking.
need to get somebody in there who knows what they're doing and can cut it back and cut it back and cut it back. And that would
On a
give you
regular
real-
maintenance basis?
Well, to do it initially and then kind of monitor to see how it comes back.
Right,
And
because
then
that's
I'd-
not going to address the root system.
Right, because we're not going to pull them out, but at least cut them back, because they're going up the trees and, all over the place at this
Yeah.
point. It's in there, and it's going to improve
It'll
the
come
site
back
as
pretty
well, of
quickly.
course.
Yeah, I know.
'Cause in fairness, this site, when I purchased it, was virtually unwalkable with
Briar.
bullbriar.
Yeah.
And so we've probably cleared several acres of it now, obviously, to build the houses that were built. But in areas where we hadn't built already, it came back pretty quickly.
Really,
Yeah.
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 So how would you craft, a condition that would do that? I mean, I'm concerned with destabilizing the slope if you take out too much of it.
Well, I guess you won't know that until you open the slope, until you start to
Yeah.
cut it back and see how much native is still there.
Right.
That's true, but that's why,
And how much
what's
is in the
language of
ground as
condition?
well, and how much is climbing up trees, we don't even know, so.
Maybe
But we
it's
have
a
to- we have to-
negotiated thing. I'm not sure that I think we can have a gentleman's agreement. I'd like to think we can have a gentleman's agreement about going in with somebody that knows what they're doing and talking about how much native material is there. Because there's a balancing act there between removing all the invasives against destabilizing the slope, and if there's a fair amount of native still there, then we can remove more of the invasive, right?
Frank Walsh, landscaping.
Yeah.
Why don't we start there?
Yeah, and there are people in town, I mean, Tom Palmer comes to mind, he knows his
Okay.
invasives. He might come on the site for you and, give you a couple of days of work and be able to pull stuff out and, recommend other things. I mean, there are other people who could do it too, he's just somebody who comes to mind,
Are you receptive to this?
Yeah,
I mean, you
I can, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah,
have my guy or somebody else. I don't know Tom Palmer.
yeah, he would know what he's
It's-
doing. Yeah,
I mean, I'm all in favor of a gentleman's agreement, and I know Tom to be a gentleman. However, if we're putting something down on an order of conditions, how would you suggest that it be written? Use your best judgment? And I'm
guess-
not being facetious.
no, but I
use
mean,
your best.
I think best
Why don't we
efforts more, best
Why
efforts.
don't we come up with,
Would be the
like
standard.
a written narrative from a licensed landscaper or
Paragraph, just a
It's
short
just
blurb.
And a recommendation for this particular lot of how to reduce invasives.
That's really a management plan.
Right.
Yeah, true.
Okay, but we
Okay.
recognize this as being the first opportunity that we're taking to try to address this issue and being something that gets applied more in the future. So
Yes,
it's going to be,
yeah.
this is the first stab, and we'll see how much room there is to
Right, but if we're going to, I think it is a minor amendment. It does not require another notice of intent. So we can make that finding.
Yeah, I
But at
agree.
the same time, should we put into that the finding is based upon our gentleman's agreement that that you're going to use best management practices to
And best efforts
to
to control
control the
and
invasives.
eradicate the
Right,
invasives.
exactly.
Yes,
Are you comfortable with
I'm
that?
fine with that.
Okay,
okay.
great. Is that good?
And that would involve hiring someone of expertise to go in there specifically and clear out as much as possible.
Okay.
Right, so is there a motion? First of all, are there any abutters, members of the public that wish to speak? Seeing none, is there a motion to,
I think it could accommodate about 6 or 8, around that, 6 to 8.
Mountain
The
Laurel.
mountain laurel is fine.
Yeah, okay.
As I recall that lot. Yeah.
So,
okay, so then the motion is to allow this as a minor amendment,
Yes.
and we will amend the order of conditions to reflect our approval of this movement of the house further away, shrinking the house, moving it further away, the addition of the patio, the
Drainage,
the
culverts.
drainage, the level spreader.
Right,
area.
the
Caltex.
well, I was talking about the Coltex, right. But
Okay.
also the field modification of the profile of the level spreader based on existing trees or.
Right.
Yep.
Don't fill it because we have to.
Right, exactly.
And
And a gentleman's agreement about the removal and control of as much of the invasive
species, right.
as
To utilize best management practices.
best managed practice.
To control and eradicate and control invasives.
Yep.
Okay,
So
and then the planting of the, you want to say 6 to 8, or do you want to say 6, or do you want to say 8?
I'd suggest control invasives rather than eradicate,
Yes, yes.
just
Done,
the reality.
Best
I
efforts.
agree, I agree. And how many?
6 to 8, depending on what, will fit on the site.
Okay,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Done.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you.
Very good,
Thanks.
Thank
very
you.
good.
Why, was that ambiguous?
She heard 8, he heard 6.
Put it at 7.
Too funny.
Notice of intent, 999 Randolph Avenue, Wallaston Golf Course. Thank you for your patience.
Cruising through.
Yeah,
Yeah, not bad.
I thought we were going to be here till midnight.
very nice. This is,
Kathy?
Hi, my name is Kelly Cardoza with Avalon Consulting. I'm here for Wollaston Golf Club, and I have with me Jim and Pat Kenny. Pat is the president of Wollaston.
Welcome all.
Where's your friend tonight?
Um,
I don't see him in the audience.
You don't know what you're saying.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure who you're talking about. I brought my friend Jim with me today.
Hi, Jim.
I was taken for a gentleman the last day.
So we're filing a notice of intent for a replacement of the porta-john that they currently have with a permanent restroom structure. It will have in it a composting toilet, so it will be seasonal in nature. It's a Clevis Mulcher system, so it will not be supplied with a traditional flush toilet.
If you could use the mic, I think, and pick it up.
The mic, you can actually pick it up.
There you go.
Be this coordinated.
We try.
Thank
They're
you.
making us.
Okay, so it will be a Clevis Multrum system where it won't have a traditional flush toilet. It'll be maintained on a monthly basis by the Clevis company, who will bring in wood chips and the chemicals that are necessary. There's no discharge from it at all. There's no Title V system, and they will pump it annually.
It's a composting unit.
It is.
Does it kick out viable compost? I'm just
Yes,
wondering.
I mean,
Yeah?
yes, Clivis, they're around all over the state. They, especially, mostly state parks.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
I think it's the first one in town.
Oh, good.
because we've had to talk to the plumbing inspector and other people about, getting the approval for it. And everybody seems fine.
What about, remember we were up on Brush Hill Road and somebody had a pool with chemicals? They had a pool and a cabana, and there was a toilet in there, and we found that little hose running outside, and we said, is that for discharge? And they said, no, that's for, I don't know, aeration or relief valve or something. Is there any, you said chemicals, and I'm just concerned with what chemicals and what happens when they escape.
There is no, it's a deodorizer that puts in there, and the flush actually occurs with a napalm foam, because
With napalm?
it's a napalm foam.
They blind.
Pick a better name.
I didn't pick the name. You're a tough
Get
crowd
rid get
today.
rid of that toilet.
You know what era we're from.
So there's a foam that flushes the toilet, and that's the product that's there. It will use water connection from the irrigation system, so there's no potable water connection to it, and it will use an electrical connection that happens to, there's a power pedestal that exists there that was from an old phone system that they don't use anymore.
I noticed that you have a full basement. Is that part of the composting system?
It is. Everything's in the basement. There are 2 toilets. There's one for the men and one for the ladies. They'll both funnel down into that system, and then the people who come to maintain it need full headroom to function in there. So there's essentially a walkout little door basement, and they'll be able to manage the interior of it from that basement.
So the basement is fully underground, and you have a bulkhead going
So
into
it's
the
a
basement?
walkout.
It's a walkout.
Oh, it's a walkout.
Because of the slope that's here.
Oh, so the backside you can walk out.
Right.
Oh. Okay. And then I noticed you said that they were going to come and pump it out once a year.
It's a licensed septic hauler who comes.
But that's a big truck. That's not a pickup. That's a,
That's right, and they're going to come down this cart path here.
Yep.
Which is, so if you come, where we are here is the clubhouse and the parking lot are here.
Sure.
And there's a fairly substantial cart path that runs along the 9th hole.
Yep.
And they'll be able to get here and go
and
up to
that's a
there.
reasonable distance.
Yep.
And where's the closest water?
Irrigation.
No,
No.
no, pond.
Issue for us.
Not the big pond.
So this is the wetland that's here. This was flagged in 2009 and then reflagged again by Ecotech just recently to confirm the line. And it's a wetland system that runs in this direction. And we know that there's some of it along this side of the 8th hole as well. We're taking down 2 trees, both that are shown on the plan, and they're immediately adjacent to where the structure will go. A 12-inch ash and an 18-inch maple, and we're proposing a 3-to-1 mitigation, and we're propose to plant those in the, adjacent to the parking lot between the tennis court is the sugar maples, and then on the outside of the parking lot at
On
the
plan.
transition.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not the notice of intent, that's the amended order.
Oh,
So-
sorry, looking at the wrong one. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. And then 3 2-inch red oaks that will be there at the transition from the parking lot down to that cart path that goes along 9.
Wait, 12-inch and ash?
18.
A 12-inch ash and an 18-inch maple.
Those are big trees,
They sure are.
They are big
really
trees.
big trees. Do you have to take them down?
It's, yeah.
We
I
looked,
mean,
we looked for another location to put it. Here is generally where they put it now. I don't know if you can see this. But it's not safe. What happens is, if people are teeing off, you don't want to be right here. So they tried to get it back up at this level for safety's sake, so that whoever's going into that restroom.
You have to pick it up again. Thank
Whoever's
you.
going in or out of that restroom will be safe and not get beamed from someone off the tee.
And what's
There are-
the distance to the wetlands, those lines?
This is the 25-foot no disturb zone. I think we were about at 75 feet. I can scale it. Do you remember what it was, Jim?
I didn't put a dimension on it.
No.
It's a rookie mistake.
Well,
There's a scale on the drawing, if you have something to measure with.
There is. I have a scale in my, do you have one?
I should.
what, this?
Oh, thanks.
So this bathroom facility is actually on a ridge.
Yes.
So So it's the wetlands on one side, and that's a steep drop-off on the other that you're taking advantage for the walkout.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Minimize grading.
Yeah, there's not,
You need handicap accessibility too.
about 87 feet from the nearest corner. We're proposing erosion control basically to ring it. And they would like to do the work.
The scale doesn't make sense.
Oh.
That's an 11 by 17 plan that's blown up, so it's probably more like 47 feet.
You know, if the trees are 18 inches and 12, you're losing that canopy too. You're losing a lot of shade that
There's-
you would have, and you're losing a lot of water uptake.
There's a substantial number of trees here. So we're taking down 2, but we're leaving 1, 2, 3 large trees right in the same area.
There is, it's a heavily wooded area.
Okay.
So you're looking at 30.
And it's maintained turf right now. We're not in the native area. We're in the areas that they mow and maintain on a regular basis.
And what were you proposing for, you're taking out the ash, the maple, and 3 oaks?
We're taking out two trees, the ash and the maple,
Right.
and we're proposing the mitigation is 3 red oaks just outside of the parking lot